trying to wrap this up again. This is a storyline. Pretty much, this is if I were to run the WWE, or maybe in an episode right here for this finale. This is episode 3 of season 2. It's episode 3. It's probably gonna be a 3-part thing. So let me get right into it. This is SmackDown. So we're fastly approaching. Oh, I don't even know if that's the right word. We're approaching the SummerSlam pay-per-view coming right out again. So a lot of the champions, the guys and gals that were champions in the previous episode, they're still champion pretty much. Even though give you a quick rundown of this episode of SmackDown. So this episode of SmackDown, we have Randy Orton. Now the main event. Let me go to the main event real quick. This is the last match. Main event. These guys been going at it back and forth. Now they fought for the title a couple of times in the past recent months. As I did the simulations and all that, pretty much in this storyline, what's happening here is that they've been going at it for the past few months. They put the title on the line a few times. Randy Orton here. Randy Orton is the champion right now. Here's the champion on SmackDown, by the way. Champions on SmackDown. So Randy Orton is a champion, and they put the belt on the line a couple of times. A couple of months ago, AJ Styles actually won the belt for Randy Orton. So AJ Styles actually did win the match. One of the matches for this belt. He won it back off a rematch clause, and so there you have it. So he's the champion again. So now this is on. So this main event here, right here on SmackDown, is the end all be all. This is it. No more rematch clauses. No more nothing. This is the final match between these two guys for the belt because they've been going back and forth. Again, like I said, AJ won it, and then Randy won it back, and now it's like this is it. They want to finalize this rivalry for the belt. This is it right here on SmackDown, the main event. So that's what's going on right there, the main event. So of course Randy has some stuff to say in the beginning of the show. That's what expect to call out. This is a big tag team match right here. 4 teams going at a fatal 4-way on a ladder match for the belts. Now these guys, check out the rivalries real quick. So these guys in the lower left corner, they've been going at a rival, but they've been moving up in rank too at the same time. So that's the rivalries right there going on in SmackDown, by the way. We'll get to Raw in a minute, by the way. We'll get to Monday Night Raw in a minute because I gotta explain some stuff about Braun Strowman. Sorry if I'm trying to go fast, by the way. I'm trying to move fast. Sorry if I'm bouncing around a little too much, but I'm trying to move fast. So I'm trying to explain these storylines real quick. So these teams have been moving up in the ranks. Of course, the champions are the Bludgeon Brothers. The Bludgeon Brothers are the champions. So amongst the these guys right here. So with the Bludgeon Brothers rivaling against the Club, the other 2 tag teams, of course, the Usos and the New Day, they've been moving up in the ranks, of course, because they're amazing tag team. They're part. Usos and New Day, of course, are future Hall of Famers. So they up in there contending for the belt. So that's that. So boom, these guys going at it in the pay-per-view SummerSlam. So SummerSlam is coming up. So these guys going at it for the U.S. title, for Shinsuke Nakamura's U.S. title, but they're having this triple threat right now as a momentum match. So just to build momentum, going at it because they're gonna fight for the U.S. belt at the upcoming pay-per-view. But right here is just a non-title match. This is a non-title match just for momentum purposes, to see what's going on, feel each other out pretty much. Of course, Charlotte's the champion. She got some stuff she got to say. Aleister Black. So let me go into Aleister Black right here in my. This is a big match right here. But real quick about Aleister Black. In my version, he's still in NXT. He hasn't been in WWE yet. So this is Aleister Black's debut here on SmackDown. Actually, in the WWE period. So Aleister Black has still been in NXT. So he's debuting here in the WWE for the first time ever right here on SmackDown. So that's what's going on with Aleister Black. This is his WWE debut on SmackDown. So these 4 awesome women right here going after Charlotte Flair's belt. Because the 3 other women here, they've been moving up in ranks, especially Asuka. I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, she won a couple of big matches to earn herself a title shot. And the other, of course, Paige and Naomi also been moving up the ranks. So there you go, fatal 4-way for the belt. These guys going at it because they don't like each other. So it's no title here. It's just bragging rights. They don't like each other. They going at it. Of course, the Miz Taraj and his wife still by his side. In this version, of course, the Miz Taraj is still with him in this version. So there's that. These guys going at it. Now these dudes is big. these dudes, like I said, go back right here. They've been going at it. There they go right there in the middle, the upper middle. Highly intense rivalry. They've been going back and forth. Jeff won a couple of matches. Andrade, I believe his name is Andrade. He won a couple of matches. So they each went back and forth. This is similar to this match is the end all be all. So the same thing here. Of course, there's no title on the line. It's just just beef, animosity, going at it, bragging rights. So they just want to end this rivalry. They've been going back and forth. This is the end all be all match as well. So this is the end all be all match, rivalry match, and then of course same thing here, but the stakes here are obviously much bigger because the belt is on the line right here. Also in another end all be all match. So there you had it. I'm going into that's pretty much the gist of all the matches for this episode of SmackDown. Real quick before I go into episode of SmackDown, I have to mention this real fast. Braun Strowman. So here's the deal with Braun Strowman. So as we, oh snap, sorry about that. Ignore that. So if we go, we go here. So you notice Braun Strowman and The Undertaker. They've been going at it. So what I failed to mention in the last episode, pretty much the very last episode, I failed to mention that Braun Strowman, he actually had Braun actually had the Money in the Bank contract a while back. I think in the first episode of the season, you notice Braun Strowman had the Money in the Bank contract. So this is what happened. So what happened was, there you go, boom, The Undertaker happened. So The Undertaker, as I simulated, I'm just gonna mention the storyline because, of course, I'm not gonna be playing every single thing. I just have to narrate. Obviously, I'm narrating some parts of the storyline. So what happened with Braun Strowman is that he got stripped of the Money in the Bank contract. So as I'm simulating, I'm just gonna explain what happened here. Braun Strowman got stripped of the Money in the Bank contract because Undertaker kept taunting him over and over again. Like, even in paranormal ways, he would appear in the arena, disappear. He would taunt Braun Strowman to the point where Braun Strowman couldn't take it anymore. Undertaker's picking a fight. Undertaker's pretty much picking a fight with Braun Strowman, but at one point Braun Strowman flipped out. So the Undertaker's taunting him in a way where he's just appearing here, appearing there, but he hasn't, of course he hasn't touched him. He hasn't physically, laid his hands on him yet, but he's been taunting him in weird ways and very scary ways. So Braun Strowman, in an episode of Raw, Braun Strowman flipped out and started tearing the arena, looking for the Undertaker. He was looking for the Undertaker. He inadvertently hit a referee by accident. He hit a referee by accident and then tore up the backstage and most of the locker room. So the McMahons had to penalize Braun Strowman by stripping him of the Money in the Bank contract. So that's what happened here. So that's what's happening in this storyline right here. So they penalized Braun Strowman by stripping him of the Money in the Bank contract. So that's why he lost it. And it's because of the Undertaker. The Undertaker's been provoking him in certain ways, not physically, but of course mentally and in crazy weird ways in the arena, in episodes of Raw, because the Undertaker wants to pick a fight with Braun Strowman. So now Braun Strowman is heated. Actually, it says intensity medium right there because the other guys are intensity high, but I personally think the intensity should be very high. So the intensity of the fight, he really wants to get revenge on the Undertaker. So that's what's going on here. So I failed to mention that in the last episode because that's why Braun Strowman doesn't have the Money in the Bank contract no more. He actually was in the match too. The last episode was the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So if you haven't seen the last episode was the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and Braun Strowman was actually in that. To try to, because obviously he was trying to win it again since it got stripped prior to that. So prior to that, he got stripped by it because of Undertaker's craziness. So there you have it. So, but obviously, if you see the episode, Braun Strowman did not win that match. This time around, he didn't win the Money in the Bank contract match this time around. So anyway, so that's that. I just wanted to quickly mention that because I didn't mention that in the last episode. So that's the deal. So we're back here. So we're back here. Again, this is the main event. Let's start the show. And I'm about to start the show. So that's the rundown. So I'm actually this is gonna be a parts this season. This is the finale. So this is gonna be probably a 3-part finale. This episode. This is episode 3 once again, season 2, episode 3. So obviously just gave the rundown of the storylines. So since I gave the rundown of the storylines of happening, of what's in these matches happening in an episode of this episode of SmackDown, pretty much you could take this first part as a rundown. So I'm gonna pause right here. I actually have to run real quick to do something pretty important, and I'll be right back. But I'm gonna pause the video and jump back live on YouTube for part 2 of this finale. So part 2 of this finale, which is the very next episode, well, it's technically the same episode. It'll be part 2. And it'll probably be a part 3 for the SummerSlam pay-per-view. Will be the part 3. So consider this the rundown of the storylines. So I'm gonna pause here and create a part 2 of this episode to actually start this episode of SmackDown. So I'll start the episode of SmackDown in the very next video, which will be part 2. All right, part 2 of this same episode, and then part 3 will most likely be the SummerSlam pay-per-view. So most likely this will be a 3-part finale, and I'm gonna end right here and create a part 2. So yeah, so there you have it. So I'll be right back.